They called it a crisis created by the board, laying the public relations damage squarely at our feet, even as the university was spending public money to foment it. It's worth pointing out that we were a group of volunteers, an independent board, with a clear mandate to uphold and deliver on that social compact. Our job is to ensure the administration would prudently move the institution forward for the sake of our stakeholders, who were our 26,000 students and the 8.4 million citizens of the Commonwealth. Of course, none of us had signed up for a very public and political fight. Several members folded, one man cried in a board meeting, and another resigned. The pressure proved too much for some, and the rest is history. Why do I bring this up? Because in the years since, UVA has been solicited by several colleges for advice on how to undermine the legitimate governing authority of a board. And today, elements of UVA's playbook have been used in several other quite public controversies. This threat to independent, objective governance puts the fragile social compact at even greater risk. Needless to say, I learned several hard lessons. I learned that no matter the topic, the public's business must always be conducted in public. But having lived through it, now I understand how far entrenched self-interest will go to protect their turf, and there's not much, if anything, that's off limits. To be sure, it helped that nearly everywhere I went, I was encouraged by parents and citizens, even by some educators and university staff, who asked me to keep going and to keep doing what I was doing. Without realizing it, they were asking me to press on, to renew a social compact that instinctively they knew had been broken. Of one thing I am absolutely certain. It is critical that Virginia find solutions that make college accessible and affordable. Because other institutions are proving that dreams of success do not need to cost an arm and a leg. At Arizona State University, students anywhere in the world can take their entire freshman year of courses online for free. And if a student wants to earn college credits and a degree for the work, only then will he or she pay $200 per hour. So what might otherwise be a $30,000 bill for a freshman year comes in at just over $5,000. And if you listen carefully to our local public radio station, you will hear Arizona State advertising right here in our region. Those Sun Devils are coming after Virginia's kids, and they're not alone. At Georgia Tech, a one-year online master's program degree in computer science is priced at $6,600, instead of the $46,000 out-of-state tuition would be for an on-campus degree. Other schools, notably Purdue University, have found ways to hold the line on tuition without jeopardizing residential academic experiences. For the 6th straight year, tuition there will hold at $10,002 for in-state students. Purdue estimates that students and their families have saved more than $226 million since tuition was held flat. Naturally, the question is, how are they able to do that? And here is Purdue President Mitch Daniels' answer. It has been too easy in higher education for institutions to decide first what they would like to spend and then raise student bills to produce the desired funds. For too long, we've done what the institution wanted and then sent a bill. That approach has run its course. I say it needs to run its course here in Virginia as well. Why do I say that? In 2015, Virginia had the 3rd slowest economic growth in the country. Between 2011 and 2014, Virginia fell from 17th in job growth to 49th. For 3 years straight, more people have left the state than are moving in. And who is moving out? Mostly young families. Those who represent Virginia's potential. Those who could create its prosperous future. Talented people are pursuing opportunities somewhere else. This is especially concerning given that Virginia is projected to need about 1.5 million new workers over the next decade, and that 70% of our high school students will need post-secondary education. But here's the really scary number. According to the US Census Bureau, only about 44% of our 18 to 24-year-olds are enrolled in college. Rosy as they may have been in the past, state revenues, the things that balance budgets and fund our core services, have fallen short, far short of projections for 3 straight years. And not having a qualified workforce won't help Virginia's economic recovery. Neither will the rising cost of a degree at one of Virginia's public colleges or universities. It is also impossible to ignore this mathematical reality. While the Consumer Price Index has increased 18% over the last 10 years, tuition and fees at our state-supported schools have skyrocketed a staggering 74%, while family incomes have stagnated entirely. I'm going to repeat that. The CPI has increased 18%. Family incomes have stayed about the same, yet college costs have increased 74%. It's no wonder that Virginia's public colleges are now the 7th most expensive in the country. It's also a sad fact that of the nation's 10 schools enrolling the smallest percentage of low-income students, 5 are located in Virginia. Plainly, something is out of kilter. But what? For years, the finger has been pointed in Richmond's direction when anyone talked about the growing cost of tuition. The General Assembly, they say, is to blame for cutting state funding, which they certainly have. Except that's not the whole story. The General Assembly is not the academic version of public enemy number 1. Magazine rankings are. They drive spending behaviors at too many institutions that are fundamentally at odds with the mission of a public university. Last November, the House Appropriations Committee reported that for every dollar our public colleges and universities lost in state funding, over the last 20 years, tuition increased by $2. To be fair, these kinds of dramatic imbalances are shared across all 15 public four-year institutions, and some are working very hard to keep the cost of degrees and credentials down. And ODU here close to home is a shining example in that regard. But when the rate of increase in tuition exceeds the devastating rise in national healthcare costs by more than 50%, something is seriously wrong. Our citizens and the country's business leaders know it. JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon recently said that Americans have only one problem when it comes to debt in general, and that's student loans. To which I say, that's an understatement. Virginians carry $30 billion of student loan debt. Beyond these soaring loan balances, Inside Higher Education has reported that food, housing, and other forms of financial insecurity are major reasons that behind our students' inabilities to complete their studies. And if anyone thinks that surely cannot happen here, I can tell you that it already has. It's horrifying to me that some students have opened food banks for those who can't afford a meal plan, and when all else has failed, they've resorted to crowdfunding to pay for school. It's very bad, but mostly it's terribly sad. An additional concern is the ripple effect for Virginia's economy. So from the perspective of a car dealer or a furniture store owner or a jeweler selling wedding rings, none of these facts do much to build confidence in the future purchasing power of young adults, much less in their ability to start a new business. Because most entrepreneurs launch their dreams with borrowed money, graduates saddled with student debt can't get the loans they need to create new businesses. Researchers at the Federal Reserve of Philadelphia agree. Their 2015 study proved that student debt inhibits graduates from starting the small businesses that provide 60% of American private sector job creation. That same study showed that for every 2.7% increase in student debt, new business startups fell by 14%, which by any measure is a significant drop. In short, student debt chokes off the very opportunities to create new businesses and add the jobs that Virginia so badly needs. We cannot keep going down a path where the few who do get a degree are saddled with loans that, in the depressing words of one Virginian, I will be paying off until I die. but among the hundreds of stories I've read, this is the most heartbreaking. My husband and I are unable to afford children because of his student loan debt. So what path should we take? We are here entering the age of extreme automation. Last month, many of you probably read that Apple secured a permit to test drive self-driving cars on public roads in California. While Elon Musk announced he will work to merge the human brain with computers. Just a few years ago, who would have dreamed of such things as the Internet of Things, mesh networks, synthetic neocortexes, even smart tattoos powered by sweat? For their sake, our kids must be more highly educated and better prepared for a job market that will look far different than it does today. Our kids and grandkids will need to be unencumbered entrepreneurs with degrees and dreams that can add jobs and build futures for others. And when they do, they will bring much needed spirit, vibrancy, and new ideas to Virginia's counties and cities. At this point, you may be asking whether our elected leaders have tried to address any of these issues. Yes, they have. In fact, they passed 2 significant pieces of educational reform and reinvestment in the last 12 years. But those efforts at improving accountability, affordability, and access fell prey to politics and far too many institutional self-interests. But some tenacious legislators, including our Senator Bill DeStuff, who's here tonight, keep trying. During the last session of the General Assembly, more than 24 higher education bills were introduced in both houses and from both sides of the political aisle that covered everything from student debt to caps on tuition. Some sought to make college administrators and boards that govern them more accountable and spending decisions more open. But few of these bills saw the legislative light of day.